Morning, BoobTube. Leafs in San Jose last night. Game didn't start till 10:30, so I saw, I think, the first two periods, and then third period, I woke up well after it was over on the couch, like, hi. So I did not see the third period, but I did watch some replays this morning, I guess. This was an interesting game because the Leafs usually have this formula of having a good first period, an awesome second period, and then the third period's kind of, I've commented on this before. Last night, they came out flying in the first period. This was one of the best periods of hockey I've ever seen them play. They possessed most of the period. They were moving their legs and skating hard. Their passes were crisp. They were getting lots of chances, a lot of high-end plays, a lot of skilled plays, a lot of hits. Clifford really laid into a couple guys. And it was just one of the best overall periods of hockey I'd seen them play all year. And so I thought, oh, great. You know, if they play like this game is going to be a no-brainer. Unfortunately, the Sharks opened the scoring on a power play, I think it was. Kane tipped it right in front of Campbell, and he, nothing you can do from a tip that tight end. So they went up 1-0, and that's the way the period would end with a one-goal deficit for the Leafs. But with the way they'd been playing, I wasn't worried at all. I thought, this is going to be no problem. They'll come back. And then in the second period, it was like that intensity from the first period just greatly diminished. They still had their moments in the second period, but San Jose took the game over and was just firing on all cylinders. And if it wasn't for Campbell in the net, like he kept them in it all game. He was making some unbelievable saves too, where you thought, how did that not go in, right? He's scrambling and such. But San Jose, I forget if San Jose scored first. No, I think the Leafs tied it up. I think Matthews had the first goal of the period. It was just Marinson with a desperation shot from the point got through, and then Matthews was there where the rebound dropped, and he just tucked it to the backhand and put it in. Then the Sharks would score not long after Matthews' goal on a weird one from like kind of the corner where they put it on net from a sharp angle, and the rebound came out, and as Jack was trying to get back to hug the post, the guy, like, it was one of the ones where you bank it in off the goalie from behind the goal line. So it was one of those ones which are never pretty, but that's why they try that, right? Because it works. So Sharks were back up by a goal. Just a few minutes later, Marner would even things out. Or sorry, no, it was the end of the period. Marner evened things out on him and Matthews were on a 2-on-1, I think it was, and Matthews coming down the right side flipped a pass over to Marner at the top of the crease, and then he did a nice little deke through his legs to the backhand and into the net. So all things considered, how they played in the second period, how they let everything get away from them, they headed to the break tied at 2. So I was like, okay, they still have a chance. Like, if they can get back to the way they were playing in the first, they should be able to win this game in the third period. But the third period was more of the second, and the Sharks scored 2 goals a minute apart in the first kind of half of the period, and added an empty netter near the end, and there's the game. So they didn't play a full 60 minutes in this one by far. It was kind of like a lesson in contrast, like the first period, although they were down 1-0, they could have easily been up 6-1, the first period, look at how you guys played. That's San Jose only had the 1 goal because that's like the only chance they basically had because the puck was in their net, their end the whole time, right? Like, that's a lesson on how to play hockey. And then the second and third period, they stopped moving their legs. They stopped the intensity, ratcheted down, and they let San Jose back in, gain the momentum, and then there's a good example on what not to do, right? So I don't know how they let it get away from them so much, especially considering just how strong they were in that first period. It just looked like they had the energy, they had the legs, they had the intensity, they had the will, the drive, and after such a good first period, I just don't know what happened to kind of erase that momentum and that interest level. So it's too bad, but hopefully it's another lesson in 60 minutes, and they can get on with the road trip and still make it out of California with more wins than losses if they can dispatch both the Ducks and the Kings. So again, last night I thought Marinson had another great game on D. The guy just is looking so good suddenly. And the big boys obviously got the 2 goals, so they were involved highly. Hyman had another really good game. Clifford was really involved. He also made some skilled plays with the puck. It was overall, I thought it was a solid effort from a lot of their players. They just kind of let it get away from them. And but Campbell was easily one of their best players as well. He was shouldering the blame for the loss in the post game interviews and stuff, but he had nothing to be worried about from that game. He made a number of large saves, and a lot of the shots were close in tips, close in wrist shots to the top corner. Like, to be a goalie in this day and age, and you got an NHL shooter 10 feet away from you with a clean rip at the net, they shoot it so fast, the human eye can't possibly track something like that so fast. So that's why the art of goaltending now a lot of it has become positional play, making yourself big, cutting down the angles, challenging the shooter, right? Because when they get in that close, you just want to hope you're in the right position and the puck hits you, right? Like, so, none of the goals really you can fault Jack for, and he was one of the reasons that they still did have a chance to win it in the third period, and they just let it get away. So, I'm not too worried about things, because they really came out in the first period and they showed that they're still getting on how to play as a team. They just, again, it's the consistency thing where they just can't put it together for a full game. So, but it's not like one of these other games they had where they lost to Carolina and Pittsburgh, where it was just almost a lack of, like, it was total disinterest the entire game, and they generated nothing, right? So I'm not worried about it. They played great for some of the game, and even the stats a lot were tight. Like, hits were even. They had a slight edge in face-offs. San Jose blocked more shots than the Leafs did. The only discrepancy was that San Jose had significant more shots on net than the Leafs did. That was the only real category that was skewed towards San Jose's side. So despite having not the greatest second and third periods, they still had their moments and had their chances, right? And I think easily could have won that game if they just kind of kept their foot on the pedal. So, but another lesson, right? So we'll see what happens. I haven't checked what Florida's done recently, so hopefully this loss doesn't mean too much, but we'll find out, and all they can do is go out and win the next game. So until then, have a great hump day.